So I think I'll kick it off now. It's 7 o'clock. I think the webinar itself will probably take in around 45 minutes. So thanks again for joining us. So you're very welcome to the webinar on the updated LCA social education course. And obviously, much of that change is as a result of the new SPHE specification. It's great that you could join us this evening where we look at that. We look at the changes to the LCA social education course, which is being introduced later this year. And by that, I mean for the 25-26 school year. By way of introductions, my name is Connor Walker, and I have worked at Phones for the last 12 or so years. I head up the post-primary publishing team here, and I'm delighted to have Niamh Blanche with us this evening. Niamh is an experienced LCA teacher and also the author of our popular LCA Today series for social education, and there's also a publication for the English and Communications course. Niamh currently teaches at Lusk Community College, and her subject areas include history, religion, CSPE, SPHE. She's also involved in the Accelerated Reader Programme and is currently the second year head there in Lusk. So a very busy person, as you can imagine. During the session, just to give you kind of a sense of the running order, Niamh will start by doing a review of the year 1 and 2 modules. Then she'll introduce the new SPHE related modules that will be replacing the existing social and health education components. Then we look at the contemporary issues task, and Niamh will just go through how students will complete their projects under the new guidelines. And finally, then I think Niamh's going to touch on the new credit structure and what that means for LCA students from next year onwards. So this is an interactive session, and at the end it'll be a Q&A. So please feel free to submit any questions that you have into the chat by clicking the chat button across the menu bar at the top of your screen there. Post whatever question you'd like to ask, and we'll tackle as many as we can at the end of the session during the Q&A. We'll also be making the recording of this webinar available soon after the webinar on folens.ie, and we will be mailing out the PowerPoint deck as well to everyone who's registered, and that should go out early to you tomorrow. So I think that's enough from me for now. I'll hand you over to Niamh, who will take us through everything. So over to you, Niamh, and the very best of luck.
Thanks very much, Connor. Again, I'd like to reiterate thank you so much to everybody who has joined us this evening. I know that Thursday evening is a tiring time for a lot of us, so I really appreciate the time you've taken to log on. Now, so as Connor went through there, we're going to go over the modules that are remaining the same, because there is confusion around that, I think, and just to make it clear for everybody. The introduction of the SPHE modules that are being rolled out from September 2025 for LCA students. Now, I know for Leaving Cert Established, it's not happening this year, but it is for our LCA cohort. So it is important for us to, be ahead of the game there and be prepared for it. We also, I will also go over the contemporary issues task and then the new credits that are being rolled out from September 2025 for our social education students. I then will just have a brief overview at the planning documents and PowerPoints that come with the package when with the book, the guide. So we have the overview of 2 years of social education. So it's a 2-year programme, LCA 1 and LCA 2, depending on what your school refers to, 5th year and 6th year. So in year 1, we have the SPHE 1 module to do, My Community and Contemporary Issues 1. And then in year 2, we have SPHE 2, Contemporary Issues 2, and Taking Charge. They're the modules in which you'll be teaching. And then with that, we also have the contemporary issues task. And those interviews are usually happening in session 3, which is the interviews in January or early February, depending on your allocated inspector. We then have all of these key assignments are organized by the module. So it is important to recognize that it's kind of structured in that way for both teachers and students with ease to be able to complete them. And they are scaffolded to ensure all students can achieve their credits to allow for, kind of enhanced learning from lower order to then higher order within our LCA remit. So again, just the changes that are not being done to the modules that we already have. In year one, My Community and Contemporary Issues 1 are staying the same. The key assignments will be the same and the content will be the same. And then in year 2, our Contemporary Issues 2 and Taking Charge modules will remain the same as well. Now, I'm just going to review these and go over the key assignments that are involved in these, just in case there are teachers here who haven't taught social ed before or are new to the subject and would like some review kind of what they are involved in. So year 1 in My Community, this module again is not changing for September 2025. It allows students to have an opportunity to explore the community that they are part of. The idea there that it's an outreach into the community, it's hands-on, it's recognizing the facilities that are available for all ages, children, young adults, and then adults as well. Then it's also the facilities that, are necessary, such as doctor surgeries and pharmacies, and plotting them and recognizing how they make a town or a village what it is. It also then shows students the importance of being part of a community and that sense of belonging, which is often, it's sometimes students don't recognize that, and we do need to remind them of it. Just there on the right, I have the idea there of this is a sample key assignment where students were going to take a part in a discussion as part of their local area in the past and maybe how that has changed. So again, the scaffolding there is giving students some ideas as to where they could research, that it's not just always a Google search, that there are books, or they could interview somebody, or they could, try and go to the local businesses and ask them maybe the changes that have happened. And then again, here are some ideas of what you could research. So allowing students identify the areas that they can look at and questions to guide them. Because sometimes when you say, look at my place in the past, they don't know where to begin. So having those questions there will kind of just help guide them as best they can, and then they can write their facts and be able to contribute to the discussion. So the key assignments are very based like that. It's the idea that they are a guide for students to achieve success. The key assignments then, just in a whole, we have creating a collage on the community. So what I do for this one is I get students out into the community. I'm in an iPad school, so we are privileged with using the technology and students having it at straight away. But we go around and we take pictures of the key buildings, maybe some key road signs. If any monuments are there, we go back to the school and we print them out, and the students make a collage from real primary sources, probably the history teacher in me there, but having the evidence of that community. You also could do that with, students drawing a map if they didn't have access to devices. They could go in and interview maybe a local shopkeeper about the community and their role in the community, or a GAA club, or whatever it may be, trying to just get them out into the community. Because students who do LCA are very practical based students and like to be out and experience learning rather than always just from that textbook. Our place in the past discussion I've discussed previously with the sample key assignment that's in the book. Interviewing a senior citizen, this could also link into the place in the past discussion as well as the collage on the community. So allowing students have that interview completed. Now, if they don't have a senior student or senior citizen, senior citizen, they could be able to interview a parent or a neighbour. And the idea there would be that they may have seen changes in the community in recent years. It's not that they wouldn't receive credits just because they couldn't find a senior citizen to interview. Then we also have the booklet design facilities available. So in the book, it explains the process on how to make the booklet, that it is, you know, kind of like Fáilte Ireland, like welcome to my town. These are what you can go and see. These are the facilities that are available. And then they're able to present that information as well. There's also a trip to the local library. That's a key assignment for students to recognise local history and books around their local history, again, contributing to the other key assignments. So we can clearly see this link here around my community and being fully immersed and involved in it. Year 1 then, contemporary issues. This again is the module that is not changing for 2025. It allows students to engage with the wider world and address key issues that the world is faced with. Students get to complete activities that address their civic duty, the idea of stewardship, making sure that the planet is safe now for our future generations, and recognising the impacts that we can have on that. Addressing the rights and responsibilities of humans. So lots of students will learn in CSPE at junior cycle about human rights and what they're entitled to. And that's absolutely what we should be making students aware of. But it's also recognising the responsibilities that we have to uphold other people's rights as well as our own, and ensuring that the responsibility that we take it very seriously. And we show students how to do that as well. They're able to kind of debate to the best of their ability the key social issues with that, and be able to develop a sense of the idea of they're not always right, that people do have differing opinions, and allowing that process and allowing the understanding of people come from different viewpoints and perspectives, and that we can respect that. So this contemporary issues module really allows students to engage with that process as best they can. They are young people. So again, students have the autonomy here. I've allowed students to pick their own contemporary issue that they're interested in, because sometimes when teachers pick, you know, environmental concerns or bullying, students don't want to look at that. They've already looked at it, they've engaged with it already, and there may be something in the news or in current affairs that they're interested in, and they're then able to research that. So it usually engages them quite well to allow them to, that they get to choose and have a say in their own learning. The key assignments in Contemporary Issues 1 is the idea of role play. So again, it's very practical. We have students doing role plays where a denial of a human right is. So to complete this key assignment, it is important to note that the role play, although, you know, you could record it or perform it and students could watch it, it is important to write the script out of that role play into the LCA book, so that it is a recorded, written down format for achieving credits. So just to note on that, the script itself should be written in. They can investigate a human rights campaign. This can be current or historical. The idea is they're then able to track a campaign that is fighting from its beginning, the course of it, and then maybe the result, or if it's still ongoing and if any results have happened. So it allows students to kind of address the social issues that they will be facing when they leave school and go into the adult world, and be able to kind of have knowledge around some of these issues that they will definitely face. Exploring key issues and presenting both sides, as I explained, it's the recognizing that, you know, people have differing opinions and people have the understandings there as adults. You know, we're able to kind of accept that, but it's just giving the students those skills to start off with to be able to continue to develop. Designing a poster demonstrating human rights, and then highlighting attitudes of the community about a social issue. This may be a local issue. It could be that, you know, a landfill is going to be in the local community, or in a field down the road, or whatever it may be, and students could survey or do focus groups and ask the community how they feel about it. They could welcome Parents Association in and ask them, or they could survey their entire year group or their entire student body. It's up to them, but it's the idea that they then would use the results from those surveys or focus groups and be able to present those attitudes and results that have been fulfilled. So our other module that is not changing is contemporary issues 2. Now this will be done in 6th year. Okay, so it is important we're going through all the ones that aren't changing from 5th and 6th year. So this one is completed in 6th year. This module continues to give students the ability to form opinions and build knowledge about the around them. Okay, so about the world around them there. So the idea there is ensuring that students have the skills and ability to continue to develop these. As we are aware, the summer of 5th and 6th year, students mature quite a lot. They come back to 6th year and they are, kind of that adult, like they want to be treated as such. So they could be able to continue developing these skills and be able to use them in the classroom. Students, again, will continue to track issues, address social concerns, and again, have the autonomy to do so. One of the key assignments asks for students to present information on a social issue. And rather than always a poster or a PowerPoint presentation, what I get my students to do is try and be as creative as they can be. So it's the idea that, okay, fine with a poster, and I understand why for some students, but to try and push students who are more creative or more technology advanced, maybe, that they could do something different. So there's a variety of different ideas here on how they can present their information. They could record a podcast. So that would be writing out the script of the podcast and doing a voice clip. And that can then be listened to and presented to their class. They could write a poem, create a comic strip, draw political cartoons, depending obviously on what their social issue is. The idea that they could show a viewpoint from a certain country and then another certain country and the opposite, the opposing, and create a cartoon around that. They could create a bookmark, write a song. The idea there is just to make sure the students are aware that it's not always just poster and PowerPoint, that they can actually engage with other ways of their creativity. So the key assignments for contemporary issues 2 are focused on debating a social issue, because the idea is that we have given them the skills there in 5th year and we've continued to develop them, that they should be able to have a debate where they can listen to each other's side in a respectful manner and be able to kind of counteract the ideas and viewpoints put forward. Creating a presentation of research on a social issue, which is the idea that I just went through there. Contacting a local media source or TD to address an issue of importance. So I know my students in 2019, they contacted the local TD and the local councillor because we had recognised that litter was a problem in the local area. So they wrote letters to the local TD and the local councillor, and they got a petition organised around the school for more bins to be put on the walk to school. So lots of students kind of walk the same way from the specific housing estates, and there was a want there for more bins, particularly at lunchtime, and the use of that. So the idea there was that they were able to contact them and they found that that was an issue of importance. They got letters back and then 3 bins were installed on the walk, which the students kind of were really proud of, and they were able to present that in their key assignment, which again obviously was very successful. Tracking issues then on a local, national and global level. So something local, students think, oh, that only happens in our area. And it doesn't. It's the idea of giving students that big picture, recognizing that an issue of crime or an issue of social injustice or anything at all that happens in society and how it affects their local community, then how maybe it's happening in other areas of Ireland, and then on a global scale. And students do get to recognise quite significantly that actually it does happen to other people and they are going through the same things as others, and that kind of empathy building there is important. Finally, then, one of the key assignments that's offered for contemporary issues too is for students to register for elections. So obviously, there's civic duty there to, when they're 18, to register to be able to vote in our democratic society, have their say, make their vote count. So obviously they'd have to wait until they're 18, but a lot of them do turn 18 if they've done transition year particularly. So it's also they could have the form ready for when they do turn 18, that it's completed, so they know exactly what to do and that they're ready for whatever election, general or referendum, may come up in their lifetime or in their near future. Year 2, then, finally, the last module that isn't changing is taking charge. This is trying to plan for their future, allowing them recognize that school is actually the best days of their lives and that they will have far more responsibility when they leave school. So it's the idea of prepping household budgets, recognizing what priorities should be. Like right now, a priority for students may be to go out with their friends every evening after dinner, or make sure they see the latest film in the cinema. But when they get older, their priorities will be bills and rent and mortgages, and the idea of recognizing that will change and kind of preparing them for that change, because a lot of people struggle when big changes are happening. It's also allowing students to recognize the rights and responsibilities of them as tenants if they plan to move out and rent, or if they are moving in with others, and the idea of the rights and responsibilities they have there, but also the rights and responsibilities of the landlords and what students as tenants would be entitled to, and also what landlords are entitled to in the sense of respect and the responsibilities of tenants there. So again, it allows students to recognize adulthood. And the key assignments, again, recognizing this one is for the weekly budget. It's not just about let's do a budget, how much money do you get, and let's take away everything. It's recognizing what can we prioritize, how much money should we be allocating to, our rent, electricity, our food shop, bin collection, recognizing all that, and then also allowing for living, and that students have to be aware that, yes, there are priorities, but they do have to, engage with some form of entertainment or their Wi-Fi bill and things like that. So it's just preparing, it's constant preparation for the adult world. Again, the key assignments, I've kind of gone over them quite in that presentation. There is the idea that preparing a step-by-step guide to leaving home. Again, this will be like a booklet form. Preparing a weekly budget for a young person. Okay, prioritizing what is necessary for a young person moving out. So again, recognizing that prioritizing the rent, the bills, and then also some form of entertainment like the Wi-Fi and maybe a Netflix subscription or something. The idea is that their money will be used other than just, buying makeup or football boots and things like that. Interviewing a young person who has moved out and talking about real life challenges and allowing students to have that opportunity to identify those challenges and see what they may face, they may not, but they may, and kind of having that preparation in place if they did. Contacting a financial service about different account options. The credit union is excellent for having people come in. I know I've always got people from the credit union to come into the school to talk to the students about student accounts, loans, what the interest rates mean, like what does that mean for students, and recognizing that. And sometimes it comes kind of more understanding, I suppose, from somebody who works in that sector rather than their teacher explaining accounts to them. So it allows, once again, for that real life experience, which obviously LCA promotes hugely. So they are the 4 key assignments that are not changing. 4 modules, apologies, 4 modules that are not changing, and the key assignments in those are remaining the same as well. Okay, so if you've taught LCA Social Ed before, all of that will be remaining the same. Now, the new modules are SPHE 1 and SPHE 2. These will be introduced from September 2025. SPHE 1 is replacing Social and Health Education 1. That was Module 1 in the old course, or this current course. This module will be completed by all students in senior cycle, so Leaving Cert Traditional and LCA students. So it's important for us to recognise that all senior cycle students are doing the same SPHE curriculum. SPHE 1 explores the world of our personal and interpersonal health. This allows for students to engage with reflection on themselves, on the relationships that they have, and aspects of their own health. Now, health is quite a broad umbrella term. Within this SPHE specification, they speak about holistic development, emotional well-being, physical well-being, mental health concerns, stress management. So it is, again, the area of health, not just specifically about physical, which sometimes we have done in the past. It is recognizing all aspects of health and ensuring that we address those for our students. A huge focus of this new specification is on the promotion of positive well-being, allowing students to address positive lifestyle choices, strategies for coping, and addressing key mental health concerns that are facing young people today. So again, it's recognizing that the changing world in which they're living in, the social media influenced world, the technology influenced world, peer pressure, and there's so much going on for them. And it's recognizing, giving them the strategies to cope, to address them and deal with them as best they can. So this is SPHE 1 in year 1, 5th year. SPHE 2 then will replace Module 4. This is replacing Social and Health Education 2. So Social Health Education 1 and 2 will be removed from the course from September 2025. This module, so SPHE 2, will now be completed in 6th year. Again, all senior cycle students are doing it, LC Traditional, Leaving Cert Traditional, and LCA students. This module allows students to reflect. Again, huge part of SPHE is always reflection, and it is reflecting on their relationships and looking at characteristics and properties of healthy and unhealthy relationships and recognizing how to get out of unhealthy situations. It addresses gender stereotyping and the idea of, and that used to be part of the social and health education, is that gender stereotyping, recognizing the LGBTQI plus community and their role in society, and maybe the gender stereotyping and kind of anti campaigns around that, but allowing students to recognize that the media is, very influential in these areas, and it is making sure that students have the understanding, the compassion for what these people are going through, and recognizing that inclusion is so important. So it's about education particularly. The RSE elements of the course are also part of SPHE 2. And then we have, it addresses the peer pressure, substance abuse, and encouraging students to make informed decisions, particularly around peer pressure and substance abuse, to protect themselves now and in the future. To note, in the SPHE specification, it states that there are strand 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so SPHE 1 will cover all of strand 3. SPHE 2 will cover strand 2 and 3 combined. So that's the content focus and the breakdown of it. SPHE 1 and SPHE 2 have a combined list of 18 key assignments. Now, it's important to note that Leaving Cert established students are to complete these key assignments also. However, in LCA, they are obviously weighted more because these key assignments being completed result in credits, which our LCA students are working hard for. So it's important for us to recognize that, although our Leaving Cert established students will be doing these key assignments, the focus here would be for our LCA students for credit awarding. A minimum of 8 key assignments needs to be completed out of the 18 that are listed on the NCCA assessment guidelines. We have a recommended breakdown is 3 key assignments from SPHE 1, 3 key assignments from SPHE 2, and 2 key assignments from SPHE 3. Now that's the recommended breakdown. These instructions are made very clear in the book for both teachers and students. I have a screenshot of the page. Now, just to note, I suppose, every module in the social ed book, this is the opening page of each module, where the key assignments are listed and there's a description of the module, what they're about to learn. So it's kind of, looking at your learning intentions and what they're going to address, and then the assessment and the key assignments that they're going to complete. And then the idea would be that students go back and tick off as they are completing them to recognize how much work they've completed themselves and maybe some gaps that they need to review or catch up on to ensure credits are awarded. So the SPHE1 Health and Wellbeing, we have 4 options there for you to complete. It is recommended that you do 3 of them to complete your 8 over the 3 strands. SPHE2 and SPHE3, as I explained, it is looking at within one module. So that's why I've broken it down to make it as clear as possible that you have 3 key assignments from SPHE2 and 2 key assignments from SPHE3. That's the minimum requirement. As you can see, there are additional key assignments for choice. Some students or teachers will prefer to teach a specific key assignment that students they know, your students best, will engage with best. So you can then have the choice of completing that key assignment rather than a different one. So it's to make sure that there are choice available for all our types of students and that we get our full completed credits, key assignments done. Some of the key assignments then that are for SPHE1 in the book are looking at making a plan that will impact holistic health positively. We also have presenting key findings on emotional well-being, created a guide on ways to stay safe socializing, addressed types of addictions and supports available. So again, making sure that all elements of well-being, of development are addressed and that students are learning from them. Our SPHE2 key assignments look at healthy and unhealthy relationships, consent. We reflect on growing up and wrote a letter to their 12-year-old self. Role-playing situations that build effective communication skills and styles that they can develop from now and bring into their futures, and then educate others on supports and services available within addiction, within peer pressure, within bullying, any of the supports, mental health concerns. They will be able to look at those and present them to the student body if necessary, which, some of the key assignments are to create a notice board. So it's the idea that other students may learn from the LCA students and Leaving Cert applied or Leaving Cert established students to allow for the whole student body to be supported by these services. Again, just trying to show that it's the same routine, same structure of all the key assignments from the previous modules, and it follows the same structure for the new SPHE specification introduction. That then is all of the key assignments and modules that you will be teaching and focusing on, and that's all in the same section in the book, which makes a huge amount of the book, obviously. We then have the group or individual contemporary issues task. This is completed in 6th year. It can't be completed in 5th year. It's always 6th year. So it is where students choose their own contemporary issue that they have learned about in their modules, and it has 2 elements, a presentation part and a portfolio action part. So the presentation shows the examiner or the interviewer what the students have learned, the research that they've done, and what they have learned as part of it. And then the portfolio lists the actions that they have done to address the issue. A bake sale raising money, a non-uniform day, teaching a first-year CSPE or SPHE class about their issue. It may be having interviewed a charity or a local person who, needs to focus on helping the youth or whatever their contemporary issue may be. So again, it's all of their actions, and each page in the contemporary issue section goes through the elements in which they have to complete. So the questions, it's a complete guide, and once they complete all of that, their portfolio would be fully completed. But I would like to note that the book is used as a draft, okay, for teacher correction and feedback. I like my students to write some of it out, and then I give them feedback where they can add in parts to ensure that they're, explaining and showing off the huge amount of work that they've done, because students sometimes forget things and aspects that they've done. So this is used for a draft, and then I get students to type it up using the teacher feedback, their corrections, and then that way their task is to a very high standard, and high credits can be achieved. There's also, just to note, presentation ideas as well. You could have PowerPoints, or you could have posters, maybe a video, anything at all where students can present their findings. They're all listed in the book also. So we're nearly there. So we have a new credit structure system in LCA. The 90% attendance is still necessary. That hasn't changed. But the credit allocation has. Students must complete 4 key assignments per module. We know that the combined SPHE 1 and SPHE 2 are the combined 8 there. To be awarded credits, each module now is worth 2 credits. So this will total 12 credits completed if students have 90% attendance and do all key assignments from the 6 modules. So 4 key assignments per 6 modules. The contemporary issues task then is now gone to 14 credits. There is no end of Leaving Cert exam for social ed any longer. Okay, so social ed was always 26 credits, but they have combined now, they've taken the credits, the 10 credit from the exam, and put them back into the key assignments and the contemporary issues task. So it's important for us to recognize and know what we are awarding our students. It's 2 credits per module, and then the task 14. Then the credits awarded, it's similar in the sense of there will be 3 modules in year 1 and 3 modules in year 2. So 6 credits in year 1 and then 20 credits potentially in year 2. Then the planning documents and the teaching resources, the schemes of work will be fully editable. So teachers can, plan for their own lessons, their own class groups. You'll know what works. You can add resources in or take things out if it doesn't apply to you. There are assessment ideas, literacy and numeracy, the curriculum links. They could be junior cycle and LCA specialisms or other courses. Websites and resources are listed to help further investigations and research and engaging activities, and then learning outcomes. I then also have created PowerPoints for the entire course to be able to be taught. This is where students have all aspects of the course done in the PowerPoints at an LCA friendly level. And the idea there, we also have assessment ideas and group work activities that students can get involved in also. So that is my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it. And I'll hand you back over to Connor. Thank you.
That's great, Niamh. Thanks very much for that. So before we dive into the Q&A, I just wanted to mention a few things. So this webinar actually, as Niamh touched on a little bit, marks the launch of our new edition of the LCA Today for Social Education publication, which has been fully updated to reflect all those changes that Niamh mentioned during her presentation. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about that, you can just visit our website at folens.ie and search for LCA Today. And that will take you to more information about the book and all of the resources that we have for that. And I should also mention that we've got another publication that covers the English and Communications course, which Niamh also wrote. So you can find out more information about that on folens.ie too. Just if you go to the next slide, Niamh. The other thing I should mention, and actually just, I know that SPHE, is the big development, I suppose, that has resulted in the reorganization of credits and so forth, and even the removal of the exam, I guess, to some extent, from social education. But we're actually this is just a quick note to say that we're actually publishing as well a new Leaving Cert SPHE book, which is called SPHE for Senior Cycle, our author Stephanie Mangan. So while we've lots of brilliant resources and content in the PowerPoint slides that Niamh mentioned for social education, if you're interested or we're thinking about a standalone resource for SPHE to complement LCA Today or to use that in your classes if it was appropriate for your student cohort, we can also give you more information on that if you wanted to get in touch with us via folens.ie. So there should be some information on the website to begin with. And if you click forward to the next slide, please, Niamh, you can also then, for more information, if you want to connect with your local Folens rep to discuss the LCA Today program or the LCA for Senior Cycle publication, they're available to speak with you at any time that's convenient. And again, to find out who your local rep is, just go onto the website, folens.ie. And if I think there's like a find your rep, or even enter find your rep in the search bar, that'll take you to a page where you can enter your school name or roll number, and that'll connect you with your local rep. So that's the information on those programs and teaching packages out of the way. You might then click onto the next slide, Niamh, and we can dive into the Q&A. So I am just going to scroll through a few things came in. So one thing actually just on the SPHE, if I go back to the Leaving Cert established or traditional versus the LCA, I know this because of working on the SPHE book with Stephanie. My understanding, I think, is that certainly SPHE for established can be taught this year. That curriculum is in place and can be used by schools. But my understanding, I think, is that it's not being mandated until 2027. So definitely, like you say, they can run in tandem. But interestingly, I suppose for LCA, it is mandatory, I suppose, as it's incorporated into the social education course. So that's just a question that came in from Susan, just looking for clarification, Niamh. So I think I'm correct in that assumption. So if you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure
that is correct.
Okay. Another point of clarification, which well, I'm going backwards through the comments, but I'll start with maybe the first one that came in from Rosemary, which I think you've clarified, Niamh, is will current LCA 1, I suppose that's the 5th year cohort, will they be following the new curriculum? So they wouldn't be doing that now, but it's the idea is that starting in 2025-26, so in August/September, the 5th years of that group will be the first to take that course. Isn't that right?
Exactly. So the last Leaving Cert exam for social education is 2026, as in our current fifth years will do the exam because they're in the course, they're doing social health education. But
Yeah.
then our fifth years of September this year will be on the new course and there'll be no exam.
Okay, perfect. So
Yeah,
current fifth years are the final cohort taking the current course and will be the last cohort to sit the exam,
exactly.
which I'm sure they're thrilled about.
Yeah.
A question from Laura. How far outside of your own community can be used as an example throughout the My Community module? For example, I'm in a small village 15 minutes outside my main city, which has very few, so her village has very few facilities and tourist attractions, historical sites, etc. So could students use the nearby city as their example if needs be?
Absolutely. There, that's teacher discretion there as well. Absolutely. There'd be no problem with students saying that they're part of their village, but that they also are linked to the town or the city that's close by, and they'll be able to then comment on both. I would include both the small village as well, because their school and things would be there, but then obviously the community with the town would be perfect.
Okay. Susan asked, um, she's just introducing LCA next September. And
Okay.
sorry, I was at the conference, I should say, back in January, and that was one thing that I noticed that there's obviously a large group of teachers who are well established, and schools have LCA well established, but it is a growing um, course, or there's a lot of schools that are newly introducing it, and I was speaking to a lot of teachers who are kind of part of the new guard, I guess,
Mm.
introducing it into their school. But this is from a teacher who's in that situation. So looking at the strands, is it possible or recommended to teach SPHE to both LCA and LCE students in one class group, thinking that there's an opportunity to include but also see different challenges? So do you mix or keep separate, I guess, is the question.
If your timetable allowed for the mixing of students, that would be absolutely fine. It would just be making sure, I suppose, that the key assignments were done to a standard where, the Leaving Cert applied students are taking it as seriously as possible. And with the Leaving Cert established, they'll be focusing on their kind of exam subjects. So I suppose it's just making sure that the LCA students are aware that they can get credits for the key assignments, and they're important, and just a kind of making sure. But there would be no issue with the content being differentiated, I suppose, would be the only concern there.
Okay, thanks for that. Um, Katie mentions since COVID, students could get examined on their contemporary issue or their IT task. I'm not sure what okay. So do you know what that means?
Yeah.
I might be just missing it. So is the contemporary issue compulsory now if they are removing the exam?
Yes. So they are now, that was a COVID amendment to allow, like the LCA or the Leaving Cert in history, we got less topics to have to teach. So that was just an amendment, but from September, it will be compulsory that the contemporary issues task is completed. There won't be a choice between the IT task, or it'll be IT and contemporary issues.
Okay. Thanks, Neve.
Yeah.
Question from Julianne. How do students get marked on key assignments? Do we do it?
Yes. So teachers will see. So that's I have the key assignment fully done, and if the students complete it and you feel they've completed it to the best of their ability, you will award the credit there. So it's not examined by somebody else. It's your determination as to whether the student deserves that key assignment credit,
Okay.
obviously. Yeah.
Because that was something that occurred to me, I guess, like with the LCA cohort, you're probably dealing with quite a range of ability of students. So if you're looking at a key assignment task and might think it's 75% covered, but for that particular student, they have done, as you say, their best. They've made a really good fist at it.
Yeah.
So based on that and your own assessment as their teacher, you can give them the credit.
Exactly. Yeah, so
Okay.
if somebody, had a learning difficulty that would just inhibit them to be able to complete a full key assignment that's in the book, but that they've made a huge effort and, as you say, completed 75%, the teacher has the discretion there to award the credit because they feel that they have completed enough to warrant the completed key assignment there.
That's great. Thanks so much. I think that's it. There are all the questions that have come in, so I think we'll wrap it up just a little over time projected, but I thought that was really beneficial. Thanks so much, Neve.
Thank
Such a
you.
detailed and practical presentation. I think it's always really helpful to get classroom insights into how, things are going to be implemented and the way that you split it between the stuff that's staying the same and the stuff that's changing.
Hmm.
Like very often, whenever there's a curriculum change, that's always the question that I sense that teachers often want to know is like what's in, what's out.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for that, and for joining us this evening. And last but by no means least, thanks to everybody out there who's joined us this evening for giving us your time. And we know it's really, really busy at school at the moment. So we're very grateful for you joining us and engaging with the session so well, and putting in so many questions. I hope that the answers were up to par and that you found it an formative session. So for that, or for now, I'll wish you a lovely evening. I'll let you get back to whatever you want to get back to. And thanks again for being part of today's discussion. Thanks again, Neve, and take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks very much.